Hi, my name is Malu, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about whatever is on my mind and whatever I've been journaling about. Today, I want to talk about a topic that could err on the side of controversy. I feel like in media and in movies, there is this representation of women being girls and backing each other up. And while I do think that's something that can obviously happen, and it's a beautiful thing that can happen, I do feel like there is this more so common than not, thing that happens where women are pitted against each other. It creates these behaviors that we don't even realize, where we're talking badly about other women, or we're putting them down, or we're even just having negative feelings and putting out bad energy towards other women. I've talked with other women about this. I've talked with men about this. I've talked with myself about this in journaling. And I do feel like there's this societal thing that makes us hate each other as women. I feel like this would be a more educated video / conversation if I had studied like feminine studies, because I'm sure that there's more concepts and studies that I'm not going to mention in this video. And this isn't really going to be like an educational video. This is more just kind of a conversation of me just like sharing my thoughts. I'm very curious if anyone else has any other thoughts on this topic. Feel free to comment down below. This video is kind of just a conversation, some of my thoughts that I've developed from experiences. It's a topic that I'm very interested in, especially as I'm getting older. I really want to facilitate friendships with women that are healthy for both of us and help us grow and help us be happy. And it's not something that's exhausting and we're always like dealing with bad feelings. And I think I've definitely had my fair share of female friendship breakups, and it's something that's very painful, and it's very, not even the act of it happening, but I think it's something that's very painful to reflect on after the fact, because you just realize all of the things that you were feeling, all of the things that you were thinking, all the things that were said, and you're just like, what? I was telling myself this whole time that this was a beautiful relationship, but we were being terrible to each other. It's very interesting because I wish that I had studied feminine studies, because I could really like preach about the patriarchy and all the bad effects, but I didn't study female studies. It's something I'm interested in because I am a woman. I feel like these types of behaviors stem from the fact that we are in a patriarchy, and our society is run by men. So as women, it's always going to be a challenge for us to stand out, and we're always going to have to work just a little bit harder. We might get paid a little bit less. We might be taken a little bit less seriously. It's this world where, like, ideally, I don't know if every woman feels this way, but from how I feel and how I've talked to other women, it's kind of this sense of like, we need to stick together, like we need to rise up together. But I feel like unconsciously it just creates this competitive energy where it's like every girl for herself. And if you're standing out above that other girl, then like you're gonna make it faster. And it's like, it sucks, because like a lot of the times I don't think that's something we're consciously thinking. I think it's just something that comes up from being in a state of survival, wanting to survive and wanting to make it. I think it's something that's really hard to consciously draw the line of like, I don't want to survive, I want to thrive with the girls, like we need to do this together. And I think it's hard too, because like even if you are thinking that way and another girl is not thinking that way, it's kind of hard to have that mindset if you're not in it together. Yeah, it's very interesting because I don't know what it is, but my whole life I've always really loved doing activities that were not common for girls. Like growing up, I got really into boxing. I got really into playing guitar, and I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in music. And even though there are a lot of female artists, overall, the music industry is a very male-dominated field. Especially if you are an instrumentalist or a producer or engineer, whatever. If you're not just a singer, you're in a male-dominated field. And even if you are a singer, like, it's just hard to be a girl in the music industry. It's very interesting because, like, I went to school for audio engineering, and it was only me and one other girl in the class. And when I first met her, I was like, awesome. Like, I want her to do well. Like, I want us to do well. Let's run the class together. And there were many times where I found myself really frustrated with her because like if she messed up, I almost felt like she was bringing down women as a whole in the class, which is so not fair because it was a learning environment. But there were just little things that I found myself thinking, and I was like, this is very toxic. Why am I thinking this way? I'm sending these vibes out to her. I want to be uplifting her. Why am I doing this? That was like one of the first instances it kind of like made me start thinking about this topic, because I could sit here all day and talk about all of the women that have been mean to me, the mean girls, and like the girls that are jealous and whatever. But at the end of the day, like I think it's important to look inward and see how you're playing a role in this concept, because I think a lot of us do it unconsciously, like from a state of survival and wanting to make it. And we can have all the good intentions of the world of being a good friend and being a girl's girl, supporting women, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, we really have to like look inward and see what role we are playing in this misogynistic whatever game. I don't know. It's interesting. Like I try to make a point of collaborating with women, especially in art, especially in music, because I think there's something so sacred about creating art as a woman and doing it with other women, just because everyone, regardless if you're a man or a woman, but everyone is going to interpret art and create art differently. It's like speaking different languages, and collaborating with women, I feel like I always see something that I wouldn't have seen without that person's perspective. And I heard this girl one time say that women have the ability to create life. So we are naturally just more creative because that's our job, is to create. Not saying it's like your job to have babies, but you know what I mean. I find it really important. Something that's really important in my art is just to intentionally try and collaborate with other women. And it's been really beautiful at times. Like I've had very beautiful experiences, fun experiences, and I really value prioritizing that in my art. But there have been times where I have just had really bad experience with it, whether like jealousy came up or just like mean behavior, like that whole thing where you have a friend that makes jokes all the time, but the jokes are at your expense, and it's something that's like really awkward and you don't know how to communicate. That's like not cool. And I've had just a lot of those kind of experiences as well as the good ones. And it's something that's really hard to juggle, because it almost comes down to a point where it's like, I want to support other women. I want to give off good vibes. I want to be reflective so I can see what I'm doing wrong in situations, or if I'm having any toxic thoughts. But you can't change someone else, and you don't know if someone else is doing the same things you're doing. And so that's something that like I find really hard, and it almost like builds resentment, because like you'll be like, I'm trying really hard to facilitate this girls environment, but if you're constantly judging me and like making mean jokes at me, whatever, like I'm gonna get resentful and I'm gonna get mad. Like, and it's something that's so hard, because it's like, I think it's hard to like find people that match that energy. And I guess like the hard part, in my opinion, is what do you do with those people that you know are not going to match your energy? Like, how do you create those boundaries where you're still being a girl's girl, you're still supporting women, but you've created that distance so you don't get drugged down into the same patterns that you're trying to grow away from? I think it's like something I struggle with, because I've talked to my partner about this, and I've talked about like the certain relationships that I've mentioned where it just created really toxic patterns. And he straight up told me, he was like, just get better friends. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, it's not that simple. Like, how do I get better friends and surround myself with women who create a good energy without having some huge fallout? And that's something that I haven't really figured out. I feel like every time I've had a toxic friend group, it's ended in almost like a breakup way. And I've gone through those emotions. I've mourned those friendships. I think like it's just important to like be reflective and give yourself space to acknowledge how people make you feel, because I have some female friendships that they literally just never make me feel bad. They always just make me feel so much love, and they make me feel inspired, and I just feel generally in a better mood after I talk to them or be around them. And I don't have like multiple handfuls of these type of friends. Like I have 2 to 3 of these friendships, maybe 4, but they feel a bit more rare. And I think that's something that I kind of have struggled with my whole life. Like I've never been the type of girl that had like a ton of friends. I was super shy growing up, and my whole life, like I've never had a ton of friends. Like it's always been just a few who I felt really comfortable with. And that's something that I used to really struggle with. But as I get older, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that I would rather be peaceful, and I feel like when you're around just a ton of people who have bad energy, it just brings your energy down, and you just start developing toxic traits to deal with that bad energy. And I would rather surround myself just with good people who make me feel good, so I can, I don't know, help me be a better person, where I'm like making good decisions that benefit myself and also the people around me. I think too, it's so interesting because I've reflected on this or just noticed this, but I talk about social media in almost every video I do. And I don't know if that's because social media is kind of like my job, and I just notice these things, and I'm on social media a lot. I think social media plays a huge, and even not even just media, but like media in general, like magazines, articles, TV, social media, just media in general, I think can be so toxic to this narrative. It just like adds fuel to this narrative that women hate each other, because I've heard so many people have like opinions on how famous people look. And like, while everyone can have opinions, if all of our opinions are revolving around how someone looks and how someone adorns themselves with clothes, or how someone spends money on plastic surgery, like it really is not that deep. Like I would rather talk about how, and I'm not saying that I don't do this, because I definitely do, but I think it would be more healthy if we talked about, I don't know, like, I wonder why she expresses herself that way. What inspired her? I wonder why she chose this career path. I wonder how she feels to be famous. I wonder if it stresses her out. I hope she's okay. Like, I wish that we would talk more like that, rather than always finding something to bring someone else down. I think it just can be really toxic. And then not only that, but I feel like it's toxic to ourselves, because if we're judging someone like that who's famous and who is hopefully like developed a bit more thicker skin, how are we going to talk to ourselves? Like I feel like it's just opening up a space for us to talk to ourselves that way and compare ourselves to that celebrity. All of these things that I've talked about, whether it's the female friendships that are toxic, or the social media, or whatever, I just feel like even when it is like me being toxic to another woman, I feel like it kind of has this boomerang effect where it always comes back on me worse. Like I feel like the worse I am to other women, the worse it comes back to me. And so that's why I've really tried to just like create space to surround myself with women with really good energy, because I feel like the more I'm around them, the better I'm talking to myself, and the better I'm looking at myself, and the better I treat other women that I don't know and that I'm just meeting for the first time. I feel like that's the best way I've personally found to combat this misogynistic narrative that women hate each other and that women treat each other badly and talk about each other badly, because it's really sad. Like it's so hard to be a girl, and like it only makes it harder when we're terrible to each other. And so, and I definitely am not guilt-free of this. Like I feel like all women, it comes from like this fight or flight place. Like we can just be really mean sometimes, and like I think that there is nothing wrong with acknowledging that, but I think there is something wrong with knowing it and like not doing anything about it. So that's why I'm like trying to consciously change. And there's so many things I could talk about under this topic, because also like relationships with your mom are always super hard. And then like when I freaking saw the Barbie movie, I saw it because I was like, my mom is like, we have a very complicated relationship, and I would maybe even go as far as say like I just don't like a lot of the things she's done, like moral wise. But at the end of the day, like she was just like me. when I was her age. And like every girl, like whether like however different you are, however different beliefs you have, like I think that we have something so common at our core. And like all of those like dark, moody feelings that we get, and like the feelings of being alone and feelings of being just not enough, like we all share that. And I think it's really hard and we have to stick together to move through that. And I do think that there is this power in realizing that we're all connected, and we all, like, even though they're different, we share these like deep feelings. And I think there's just a power in like recognizing that we're connected and we need to stick through life together. But yeah, I like have great pride in being a girl's girl and like try to exhibit that in my behaviors. But yeah, I just wanted to get on and talk about this concept that women hate each other, so we can hopefully work towards a place of loving each other and like being there for each other. But yeah, female friendships, female relationships, female self, like your relationship with yourself, it's all really hard. So yeah, I'm very interested to see like other people's thoughts on this concept, other people's experiences. If you studied like women's studies at all, I would love to hear your thoughts, because you probably are more educated on the topic. And yeah, that's pretty much my rush thoughts for this video, because I have to go to work. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking around if you stayed till the end of this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.